Hello, this is Peter Hollemans, and I'm a consultant for the NOAA Coast Watch program. And this is a video where I'm going to be showing for the first time a new piece of software that I've written called Vertigo, which is an Earth science dataset viewer. So what I'll do is I'll talk about the ideas behind Vertigo, its purpose, and then I'll show the installation packages that are available. I'll install and run it on a Mac, and I'll show how to display data sets in the beta version of Vertigo. I'll look behind the scenes and show you how to do a little bit of hacking around to modify the behavior of the beta version, and then I'll talk about the next features that a version should have if we decide to continue on with it. So to start off with, the ideas behind Vertigo are a few different, come from a few different places. One is that it would be really great if the Coastwatch data analysis tool, which I've been developing for a number of years, had the ability to work with online data sets, not just local on your hard drive data sets. And so rather than just being able to view interactively these data sets, it would be much better if, in this age of as data sets are getting onto the cloud, that you have the ability to interactively view and work with online data sets over the network. So the other idea that comes from limitations in CDAT is the idea that it would be very useful to be able to interactively overlay and look at data sets of different data projections simultaneously without having to register them all to the same master region as you can do with the Coastwatch utilities now. So if it's in Mercator and one other one's in Polar Stereographic, we would like to be able to view those at the same time together. And I think it's possible to do that now with modern graphics cards using a 3D rendering pipeline and a graphics processing unit, a GPU on laptops that we have these days. It's like Google Earth. It seems like it should be possible to do that. So this is Vertigo is an exploration of that idea. So that's the CDAT angle. In order to view data sets or to find data sets and to view and then bring them up in whatever program there is, something like this environmental data connector would be needed. And the environmental data connector is a tool that's hosted by the West Coast regional node of Coastwatch. And here's a demo of it. Demo video of it here running under Windows. So the idea is that we have some set of known catalogs. You have that in there. You connect to it. Just move this, and this window lets you select, drill down and select data sets of interest until you find something, and then in that data set, in the environmental data connector, the EDC, you subset it and download it. In Vertigo, it would be great if just on the fly had access to the area and the various time steps without having to download, just on the fly being able to select what you want to see. So that kind of functionality from the EDC will be needed. And then finally the third bit of functionality comes from the ERDAP server itself. I mean, the ERDAP is a server that's now installed on a lot of Coastwatch websites, and so you can see a map and then a set of tool or buttons, controls to select a subset of the spatial and temporal extents. So this is a web-based interface, and it would be really great to have a client that runs on your desktop that has this same kind of functionality in a simplified view. So that's the third idea that I'd like to put together. for accessing data over the network. So what I'll do is I've actually uploaded a number of packages, and I'll tell you where they are. They will be on the Coastwatch Central web server, but right now they're on my personal website, terranus.ca, under the download Vertigo beta directories. Here's a screenshot of Vertigo running. I'll just give you an idea of what it looks like, kind of like Google Earth. I'll show that in a second. There are packages for Linux and Mac OS and Windows. I'll show an installation of the Mac OS because I'm running on a Mac here. The Linux installation is fairly simple too. On my Ubuntu system, I just double-click this deb file, and it installs it and gives me an icon to click. The targz will untargz give you a directory with the executable that you can run. And the Windows is in exe file is pretty much the same as any other Windows installation file. You run it, you pick the program files directory that you want it to put the software into. It puts it in, and then it gives you a link from your Windows Start menu to run it. So I'll do the Mac version right now, I've downloaded this Mac 0.5. So it's a beta version 0.5 to my desktop. I'll double click that. On the Mac, this is a fairly common way to install things. You just drag from here to there and boom, it goes in, it's done. Unmount the disk image here. And then there it is down in the bottom here. So double click that, Vertigo starts running, and you'll notice these start out as dark buttons, and then they light up as the data sets are checked and the data servers are available. Now, by the way, when I ran this Vertigo, when I double-clicked this Vertigo on the Mac, it did initially, a few times ago, give me a problem and say, oh, this is from an unknown developer. If you left-click and say open a couple of times, it will eventually give you a way to say open. I definitely do want to override the operating system, and this is from a safe developer, and it might do something like that on Windows too, either when you're installing or when you're running it. So you can override the operating system if you need to. Here is the Vertigo beta interface, and it's very simple for now. And what it is on the right-hand side here, there are a set of buttons that display a data set of interest, and each one of these are different links to ERDAP or Threads servers, or in the case of TrueColor, it's just a tiled web map from the star OC View website. And then on the left-hand side are areas of interest that you can click on that send you to that area on there. So let me give you an example here. I'll just select sea surface temperature. It populates the screen with the sea surface temperature that it's gotten. This one comes from AOML, and I can click and drag to rotate the globe. I can zoom. I can scroll up to zoom in. I'm using a trackpad here, so you can sort of see. You use your mouse scroll wheel. If I double click on something, it zooms in and rotates to that, just like Google Earth. And if I double click, that was a right click. If I double left click, it'll zoom out and to that area of interest. So, and you can see how using these buttons I can rotate and zoom in to another area of interest. And here's a good example of it reprojecting data on the fly in real time over the network. So you don't really need to worry too much about what projection your data is in. This data initially is in a geographic projection, equally spaced latitude and longitude lines, but when it downloads it from the server, it is able to put the tiles on the right place on the Earth using the 3D graphics card and on the fly reproject. Let's look at another one. Well, let's look at the Mediterranean, for example, and then we can say, oh, what does the chlorophyll concentration look like? So loads the tiles from the server, and there you go. Fairly fast. I'd be interested in some feedback on how well it works for you from a speed perspective and a usability perspective. Here's another example of true color. This is coming from the OC View servers, and fairly fast, fairly responsive. So yeah, pretty happy with the performance of that. So kind of fun to also do the full screen mode, really get a sense of the data. And yeah, so that's the main functionality in Vertigo. There's a help menu down there, button here, gives you some of what I've been talking about, as well as how to use it, some of the mouse and some of these keyboard commands, which I didn't mention yet, but you can try those out. And then what features would be in a future release. So let's see here. So I'll show the demo, installation and demo. Works the same on Linux and Windows. It should look identical. Now, some behind the scenes. If I look on the Mac and show the package contents, I can look back here and look into this mod directory. Now on Windows and Linux, this mod directory will be much easier to find. On Mac, they kind of hide it. But this is a module. This is the CoastWatch Vertigo module, code module. And if we look in there, there's a file that this beta demo is using by default. And if I take that and drag it down to my code editor, I can see an XML file. It's a configuration file. And if you want to hack around in there, you can actually change what the beta is doing. So it's kind of fun. Each one of these buttons on the right-hand side is what's called a surface in this XML file, and each one of these buttons on the left-hand side is an area. So you can see the surfaces and the areas that are laid out, and you can change what the button is called. You can change the link that it goes to. I mean, the easiest way would probably be to just cut and paste a whole section and make up your own data set, and you would select the variable that you want, the minimum and maximum extents, the palette that you want it to use, and whether it's a linear or log scale. And you can see some more examples of what you can do below there in this file. The palette names are a subset of the palettes that are available in CDAT, and you can see some of them here in the same directory as the demo.vrtx file, the Vertigo XML format. Blue, red, black and white linear palettes. All of these ocean palettes that are in CDAT are also available. Those came from a Python system. I think some people are familiar with those. Get your wind palette. So that's something you can go in behind the scenes, hack around, and if you're really interested, you can even type file : and then a file name, full path to a file name on your local file system on your hard drive, and you can see how fast it will load data from a local file, like it's a netcdf file with CF metadata in it that it needs. So, and then you would just save this demo.vertigox in the same location and rerun, kill this and rerun it, and you'll see new buttons and new data sets that you can use. So that's the behind the scenes. The next features to implement to make this more usable and to really start combining the ideas of the CoastWatch data analysis tool and the environmental data connector and ERDAP servers is down at the bottom here. I'd like to, well, first of all, displaying a color bar legend would be very useful because it's not there, and that's fundamental to viewing the data. The cursor position, latitude and longitude. We'd want some kind of ability to select the date step within a multi-step data set, And all of these buttons are currently used to show the most current data as of when the program is running. But there's no access to time steps before that, and a lot of these data sets have many multiple time steps going back years. Really, the idea is for the user to be able to add their own data sets and mappings and color mappings easily. So using a graphical method to do it rather than having to go in behind the scenes and hack this XML file. Being able to do it from a menu bar here somewhere, that's the intention. Once you've set up a number of surfaces, and maybe you could even display more than one at a time, you could save that, what you're looking at as a project. Just like you would save a Word document or a PowerPoint document, and so that if you open Vertigo again and you loaded it, it would show you what you were working on. That's something that the CoastWatch data analysis tool has never really had. A server connection status, we need something like that to show what the speed or the quality of the data connection is. Some error indicator if it's not working. Suddenly you don't see any of these tiles showing up, you'd want to know why. And also take a look at improving the network access speed. Some ways to do that I have got in mind, but not sure, haven't tried it out yet. So those are some of the next features that would be obvious to implement. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it. If I could get some feedback from you, that would be great. How well does it run on your computer? How fast is it? Did you encounter any issues where the whole program just stalled? Did it crash? Is it doing what it's doing on my demo, or is yours doing something else? Maybe different operating systems. I haven't done a lot of testing on Windows and Linux, but maybe there are some problems, I don't know. So if you could give me some feedback, that would be great. You can email coastwatch.info@noaa.gov if you like. If you want to get it to me directly, I'm okay with that too. Peter@terranus.ca. So, all right, thanks very much.